So I have the pleasure of introducing Chidem Atakuman, who is my colleague with whom I had the pleasure of excavating and surveying in years long past when we were both graduate students and here at UCLA. And she has continued to do her work independently from that original excavation centered in the Neolithic and moving on and really branching out in a distinguished career, including connections in cultural heritage and also remaining productive as an archaeologist through these years. And she is now an associate professor at METÜ, or Middle East Technical University, in Ankara, Turkey. And I'm delighted to welcome her and to introduce her here. So, Chidem, over to you.
Thank you very much, Lynn. I will try to share my screen now. It's an honor to be here and great to see all of these people that some of you I know and many of you I don't, but we all have the same connection, Liz connection. So we are here, Liz, and I will be presenting, inshallah. I don't want to sound too professional here. I just want to converse in what I have been doing and how I have been doing things since I left UCLA. I wanted to talk about a little bit about Domuztepe, where I started my career with Liz, and since then I have been doing different things, as Lynn has said, but I will try to compare my findings since Domuztepe here. So Domuztepe, you know, many of you have worked there. It's one of the groundbreaking sites. People were talking about Çatalhöyük, have been talking about Çatalhöyük for a long time, but with the discovery of Domuztepe by Liz at the beginning of 1990s, that was almost more than 25 years ago. This is a 20-hectare site, possibly starting at the very beginning of 7th millennium BC, but mostly known by its Halaf levels, the 6th millennium BC levels. It's in Southeast Anatolia, in very close to the Mediterranean and Antioch. As I said, the site is very big, and at many of its locations, there has been excavations covering different phases. I worked here with Liz, and with the opportunities that she provided, I was able to write a dissertation on Domuztepe, which took me a while, but at the end it happened. So this is part of the work that I did at the site. I tried to intensively collect and understand the settlement history during the Neolithic, late Neolithic phases. But before going deeper into it, I want to remember, I did not see James among us today, but I wanted to remember the first season in 1995. This is how I still remember all of us. Lynn is here, Stuart Campbell is there, Liz Carter and James Sneed. It's possibly end of July or so, 95. And we are doing the intensive survey at the site. And this is how I looked then. This is one of the trips that Liz took us to Birecik. I think we were visiting Gil Stein's excavation in Urfa. So this was 25 years ago. And when I was 25 years younger and 25 kilos lighter, probably. Don't remember now. So I'm not going to talk much about Domuztepe. Stuart Campbell and Liz have written much about this place. So the site is very well known by its famous death pit, where it's actually apparently part of a bigger ritual complex that includes an area called the Red Terrace, which is created by a red soil brought from outside the site. And there's also, within the Red Terrace, there's a lengthy ditch that includes object burials, especially some very well-made pottery with very explicative designs, and also a deep well, maybe more than 10 meters well. So all of these were explained in relation to the rituals of the time. The death pit includes more than 40 individuals, and it was apparently dug repeatedly throughout 500 years in different episodes. But the major episode, one of the major episodes, was this big one that included more than 40 people. So this is the way it looked after the reconstruction of the dig. So the sex and age distribution was given in various publications. This was an interest. This was one of the most interesting things that was discovered at Domuztepe, and the interpretation was that, based on the location of the death pit and the ritual complex around it, as well as the finds that come from the area, the interpretation was that this ritual was repeatedly made to delineate the spaces at the site. So it was kind of a group identity formation through rituals and constructing relationships between space and people at different times that went on continuously at the site, which was apparently composed of some mobile populations, mobile groups that were in need of apparently negotiating their social relationships through the agency of this ritual place. And this was one of the most famous pots that come from Domuztepe. It showed possibly the houses and the way they were related to each other. So there was this engagement and thinking about place, space, the architecture, how they were related to each other. And some of the pottery showed apparently these headless bodies, possibly related to the earlier skull cult rituals in the Neolithic of the Near East. So since then, I mean, these were the explanations, but I kept thinking about, well, there are very many different ways of constructing social relationships relating to the space, or constructing social relationships through the agency of space in different cultures in the Near East. Earlier in the earlier Neolithic, we see different, slightly different types of manipulation of these relationships, still involving human burials, plastering of skulls, and placement of different body parts in different places. So one wonders why this change happens, or why this variation exists you know, passing from earlier Neolithic to the later Neolithic. What happened? Why, you know, some things continue and some things change, and why does this change happen? This is something that I kept thinking about. So since Domuztepe, I've been involved in different places. You know, it became rather difficult to actually do field work in Southeast Anatolia, get excavation permits or surveys. So again, as Professor Wendrick was saying, you know, wherever Liz goes, there's some sort of a problem eventually at the place. So I moved to the west part of Anatolia, and I've been still doing Neolithic work, both earlier and later Neolithic, and most recently I've been doing work in at the site of Uğurlu in northern Aegean. I also have some survey work trying to figure out what's happening in earlier parts of the Neolithic or Mesolithic or late Pleistocene and early Holocene periods in southwest Anatolia. This is my surveys are in Bozburun, and I've just recently have been involved in the Mesolithic site of Girmeler. It's a 9th millennium BC site in Fethiye. We will be only recently actually starting to excavate the site. So today I'll be talking very briefly about the site of Uğurlu. Uğurlu is important for the Western Anatolian Neolithization. It's an important site for the Neolithization of both Western Anatolia and also Europe. So, which is a topic that has gained again popularity through the ancient DNA studies recently. So the site is one of the earliest sites known in the Aegean. Our carbon-14 dates goes all the way back to 6,800 BC, and the site was occupied until at least 4,500 BC, with possible early Bronze Age occupation that was unfortunately destroyed through agricultural activity. So between Uğurlu and Domuztepe, we have about 1,000 kilometers. But we will see that at about the same time in the 6th millennium BC, at Uğurlu, we have similar types of rituals going on. So again, the site is at the very westernmost point of the island of Imbros. The name was changed to Turkish as Gökçeada. This site was apparently connected to the mainland before the Holocene, and possible sea levels, the sea levels changed, and the sea levels are shown here during the occupation of the site. It was probably closer. Today, the distance is approximately 25 kilometers. Then about 6 millennium BC, it was probably about 12 kilometers, 12 to 15 kilometers. So our site is about 5 hectares. It's, in my opinion, is a big site for a Western Anatolian Neolithic site. It has have this pit activity. Before that, the site's subsistence is based on mostly sheep, goat, and cattle. There are some other species, obviously an agricultural site. Wheat, barley, and peas is very similar to what we expect from the Neolithic sites. The pottery, the material culture, is somewhat similar in phase in the earlier phases to Anatolian material, but later on, where I will be talking about, we have this area where we have a total of 37 pits, starting from the very beginning of 6th millennium, continuing to the end of 5300 BC or so. Very similar time span to Domuztepe's death pit, and through the phases of occupation at this location, we have a couple of building phases which were all covered up, through by specifically carried soils, either red or yellow. So very similar to the red terrace activity. So there was apparently some closing ritual going on here of buildings. And in these after these earlier levels of phase 4, in the early 6th millennium, later on in toward the mid 6th millennium BC, the area is completely covered by pits that are filled. Let me. These pits are clearly associated with the earlier phases of occupation buildings, but most importantly, there's a megaroid plan building 4, that is covered with the red floors, ochre-rich floors, and including animal horns and figurines associated with it. Aside this, in the pits, among other than the artifacts that I've shown you, there's also one pit that includes half of a human skeleton, and another pit that includes 11 individuals. According to the recent ancient DNA analyses, they are not related. So it's not a family pit, but it's a collective pit that includes 11 individuals. Başak Boz from University of Thrace has been working on these. So all of these included the most important find that we have been looking at to us has been the intensity of figurines that we found in this area. We found almost 100, close to 100 pieces in this area. And all of these pieces are broken, just like the human skeleton the half human skeleton that we found in the pit, they have a fragmentation pattern, and we either find the upper half, quarter, or lower half or quarter, and these pieces do not match with each other. So apparently after the breakage, they were distributed in some way, so they are not in this area. Whether they are in different parts of the site or in different sites in different regions, we don't know, obviously, but they are not in this area. We only find these fragments, and almost all of them have these head insertions made of bone tools, bone needle-like objects. And the way they were made, apparently, according to our analysis, they were made to be broken. So they were made in such a way, in a piecemeal way, so that at the end of whatever they were being used for, at the end of that use, they were made to be broken. They were made to be ease to breakage. So considering together with the variety of other variety of evidence, one of my students, one of my master's level students have done a PhD thesis, a master's thesis on this topic, and the publication is coming very soon. In a couple of months, the revisions have been just sent. So in detail, all the activity and the sequence of events of pit openings are going to be understood in that publication, hopefully. But suffice it to say, there are probably other places that have similar types of activities going on, similar types of buildings and pits from our reconnaissance surveys. So I don't know if we will be able to excavate those, but we do know that similar things are not just happening at Domuztepe, they're happening, in the Balkans, in Northern Aegean, and also in Greece. They all have, so we do have these pit rituals going on in different places, including object burials and human burials. So we have been comparing these to the earlier pre-pottery Neolithic or the Neolithic sites, like Çatalhöyük, or even the pre-pottery Neolithic A and B sites in the Levant. Yes, there are similarities. There is apparently a concern with place and constructing relationships with the agency of places, but this wide geography, very large geography, is very interesting. And when our most recent research has been looking at the upper Paleolithic routes of burial and their relationship to the emergence of these skalkals and space relationships in the early Holocene. So, and we do feel that the variations in this practice in Uğurlu versus Domuztepe, or also in time, might be related to the much earlier traditions coming from the upper Paleolithic of Eurasia, actually. So we will try to delve more into these topics in the future. This is all I will be saying today. And thank you for listening to me. And I would like to say again, dear Liz, you changed my life, and I can't thank you enough.